Utah State has scored on some pretty big plays. I think 5 were 20 or more, 20 yards or more as far as scoring plays last week. What are they doing that's springing guys loose?
I do think, and they have for a few years. This isn't novel. They do create open field, open space, and they move exceptionally well. So open space stays open space. They don't have to have a real wide window to be able to get through it, and that's at a bunch of spots where that's true.
Blake took over the play calling this year. The offense look any different than it has in the past? A little different wrinkles?
A little bit, but I think it's somewhat minor in that regard. There's still a good bit of carryover, certainly with what they're doing up front and formationally, and then also in terms of being able to create some up speed after plays too.
The open space that you talked about, it seems like Terrell Vaughn kind of fits right into that. He scored a touchdown against you guys last year. Kind of a quick-hitting receiver. Talk about the difficulty of covering someone like him.
I mean, that's what it's going to be going forward, to be real. I mean, if you're going to get to it. I mean, just, for what you're going to see within our league, I think we're going to encounter that each week. They have a number of guys where that's the case, and he is very prominent in that way.
And last week, because of the lopsided nature, maybe some guys got playing time for them that wouldn't normally. You look at the running, they had 3 running backs, I think, over 100 yards. Do you see that continuity between the Iowa game and last week, that they like to use a lot of different backs in the backfield?
I think they do. I mean, I don't think it's a case where they just want one guy. I think the other part of it, because they have some drives where they may peel off some plays in a hurry, that they want to be able to roll more, be able to have multiple guys in there. Yes.
Coach Corey Roldan, KKTV. Offensively, last week, guys struggled a little bit. Any adjustments you've been making?
I'd like to make a few more first downs, in the first 5 possessions. And I think you're always trying to, make those adjustments that you mentioned. I do think, once we got the ball going forward, it sounds simplistic, but that has a way of being able to produce some other items offensively. And that's got to be, I don't want to say absolutely a starting point, but it's got to be the crucible of how we operate.
Iowa obviously had some success defensively against Utah State's offense. What are you kind of trying to take from that game and use it in your own game plan?
I don't know if we can. I mean, Iowa's probably slowed some teams down over the years and been very, very good on that side of the ball. I think, what they did so well, they are big and thick and active up front, Iowa is. They have some guys there that will play beyond college. They did a pretty good job of keeping the ball in front of them. Again, easier said than done. And you try to learn from every game film that you possibly can, but I didn't tell you anything specifically.
Because of the tempo they run with, how do you change things in practice? How to kind of approximate that speed?
Yeah, you just try to have 2 huddles. There are periods where you have 2 huddles that'll try to rapid fire right away. So as soon as one play's done, the next huddle's already on the ball.
And the year-over-year improvement from 2021 to 2022 in this game, I think they had something like 620 yards 2 years ago, I think 420 last year. Do you think that was a product of having – I realize that's not exactly success.
Still pretty good.
But having seen it, do you think it was easier or was it more reasonable to prepare for it the second time? And now the third time, would you expect an even more improvement because of that?
I don't expect that. I mean, I just think the number of games where they've been 450 yards and 25, 27 first downs and scored 35 plus points. They've had a bunch of them, and they're going to have a good number this year too. So by no means at all do we think we're going to be something that's different that way. Now, do we got to work in that direction? Absolutely. In terms of the investment in your preparation, some of the details that are involved, trying to see maybe a couple of tips that are there that help us a little bit. I think especially, who do we have coming in here so I don't get in trouble with somebody? Okay. Especially maybe the inside backer, that can help a little bit, maybe close some gaps, or we were talking about open space, to close some of that open space sooner. We'd like to. And so instead of a play being a 40-yard play, now is it maybe an 8-yard play, which doesn't sound like a huge win, but that is a victory, because at least in the short term it is, just because you're keeping the ball in front a little bit. We got to be better that way.
I think Cooper Legault was on your radar, your team's radar, when coming out of high school, out of Orem. What did you see out of him then, and how has it translated into the quarterback that he is today?
Yeah, he could deliver a ball with good accuracy. One of the things that we always look for athletically, can a guy make a throw while he's on the move? Just because that takes body control and some quickness, and still a good release, and then very, very good movement.
This Thursday, Chad Hall will be inducted into the Hall of Fame here at the Academy for Air Force Athletics. What were your initial impressions of him when you came in and he was a senior? What were your impressions of him then, and how did it change or stay the same throughout the year that he won Offensive Player of the Year in the Mountain West?
All right, you're saying unfiltered?
Please.
Yeah. I remember we were in Houston. We flew up here on January 1st, and that evening, it was a Monday, and I think we met with everybody Thursday. I believe it was January 4th, and we got all the team in there, and the whole team filed in. I'll tell you honestly, I started getting a little bit of a pit in my stomach, thinking we aren't any bigger than this, and I thought, why'd we do this? You guys asked, and I remember going through and telling everybody, I want to know you. You guys want to know. You don't want to know me, but I want you. You got to know me. And there's got to be completely open lines of dialogue. And so he popped in soon thereafter and just said, Coach, I'm Chad Hall. And I'll tell you candidly, I didn't know who that was. And I went to an Air Force game back in the fall of 2005. Denver, we had a bye, and I came down. I think it was for the Army game in 2005. And to be candid, I saw a guy walk in. I was 5'7". I thought, okay, what's this guy's role that's outside of playing football? And he looked at me like he was the best player. Wasn't arrogant, but he was quite confident. I really thought, who in the hell's this guy? I mean, I'm just a few guys. That's exactly what went through my mind. And we played, a few games, and we said, all right, this guy has some talent. And so we played in our first 5 games. We won our opener against South Carolina State. Our second game we won in Utah 20-12. Our third game, I don't want to say you've ever been luckier, but we were. We ran one snap in the second half on the other team's field of play, and they had some guys now, including a quarterback named Dalton, and I don't know how all the stars were lined up. We ended up winning that game in overtime, and we went next and got thumped pretty good in Provo. I think it was 31-6. Then we lost by 11, I think, at Navy. And I remember we played 5 games, and we were doing a lot of what we did in Houston and Denver. And we just said, all right, at that point you thought, okay, who are our guys who really want to get involved? And we said, all right, we're going to move this guy around. And he's our most talented guy, far and away. And lo and behold, in the 6th game would have been UNLV, and he rushed for like 179 yards. And the next week we're 4-2, and we head up to, I believe we played at Fort Collins next. And it was thunder and crackling, and we thought, all right, it's going to be a little bit hard to handle the ball. Let's hand it to that guy a good bit. And I think he rushed for like over 250 that day up there. Next game would have been here against Wyoming, and I remember we're running an outside zone to the right, and he shaves the quarterback off on the handoff, and I'm thinking, dude, you can't do that. Well, he felt somebody coming off that edge and did it naturally. I was like, all right, after you looked at the, I mean, just the awareness and the instincts. He had really, really good power. I mean, incredibly shifty. You know, some of the highlights he had against Notre Dame that year. In the bowl game, it is we're down there, and Carney gets hurt in the middle of the 3rd quarter. And we knew, okay, this is pretty bad injury. He's done, which it was. And there's a dude tapped me on my shoulder saying, Coach, play me at quarterback. I thought, this guy, are you kidding me? Well, don't think it hadn't gone through my mind as the years have passed. What if we would have played him there, you know, the next. Great athlete. I think that year he had like 50 catches, led us in punt returns, led us in kickoff returns. I think he rushed for over 1,400 yards. I mean, and yet there was just something about him that made everybody else better, you know. And now I don't know if he's gotten a better haircut, you know, since I've seen him. But yeah, I mean, he was so much fun to coach, you know. I mean, just he just had. You know, you hear about that little something that's there, the ed or whatever that is. Oh, baby, did he have it in spades over and over and over. Yeah.
I hate to follow that. But when you look at the success your defense has had now for an extended period of time, has there been a philosophy change at any point? Or is it a matter of talent? Like, kind of what do you credit this extended run to?
Well, it's really, I think it's game by game, though, too. You know, do you ask that question and after playing the next 4 games or whatever that is? You know, I think I think now you could probably have even more depth behind it, you know, that way. Not that there's not depth. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying over the last, you know, couple of seasons. We have changed. We went through a terminology change in 2018, and we went through a pretty massive change again before 2022. And I just think it's kind of the evolution of college football where you have to. We've had some guys, I do think, you look in, we've had some guys that have played a good number of snaps in some of these seasons, which I think might be somewhat of an anomaly, I think, in an academy. And will that be the case a year from now or 2 years from now? Maybe not.
Has there been an advantage in the continuity at coordinator when you've been able to promote from within and guys you've known and had a relationship with and have known the system?
Absolutely, that helps. I do think I think any staff you value continuity, any working environment, if you have talented, sharp, bright people that can work together and they're part of who you are over the long haul in any team, not just in sports. Yeah, you elevate and ideas and the flow of thoughts, and it's unbelievable. It is. And I think I'd double down on that and saying especially at an academy. just because you could, if you didn't have some background here, you get a little bit exasperated maybe at times where you think, wait a second, we're only going to practice for 80 minutes, or the meeting time we have is only 45 minutes, and some of the things that are factors in the off season, I mean, that could drive you up that could send you rolling up a wall in a hurry. So that helps, I think, even more so in an academy.
Caleb, welcome in.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
As you kind of look at the offense, have we seen the full playbook yet? Have there been some things you guys have kind of been holding back and will probably open this week?
There's a lot of plays that we haven't done, but I think really what we just need to focus on is like finding our identity and who we are to get the offense rolling. The defense is carrying us right now, and we need to score more than 13 points if we want to win the game. So,
how do you think you unlock that? That identity or whatever you need to do to get clicking. And obviously, you're gonna probably have to do it this week. Like, how do you take that step to make it happen?
all it takes is one game and one play where everyone works together and finds out who we really are. Because at the end of the day, we just need to work harder than other teams, and that's how our offense usually runs and operates, and that's how we play the best.
Caleb, I feel like Utah State is one of the more challenging opponents in the Mountain West. How do you guys approach them, and what challenges do you see that they present on the field?
They have a very dynamic offense, and they're known for scoring a lot of points, but our defense is always great. So if we can keep them to a minimum amount of points, and if the offense can score more than 24, we'll be probably in a good spot.
You were involved a little bit in the passing game last time you guys played Utah State. When you enter a game, obviously you find out what the game plan is through the week, but when you are able to turn your attention from Sam Houston to Utah State and go, I have some experience, do you perk up a little bit that you know maybe you're going to get a chance to maybe catch a few balls on Friday?
You never really know what plays are going to be called. You're just ready when they are. Mm-hmm. But it is nice going against an offense or going up against a defense that you've played before. Sam Houston, you don't know what you're going to get, so there's a lot of things you haven't seen. Whereas when you are experienced, played as a junior, you're used to seeing players line up across from you, knowing their tendencies, and that helps you a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about finding that identity offensively, maybe how much of that do you think is the newness of some of, Zach being under center for the first time, and some of the guys you have surrounding you that are stepping into bigger roles than they've had in the past? How much do you think the start you guys have had is attributed to maybe a little bit of inexperience around you on the offensive side?
I think the biggest thing is the last 3 years we've been so reliant on Brad Roberts that we just have focused on that, give Brad the ball. That's kind of what our offense has been the last 3 years. So just finding something new. But once that clicks, then we'll be up and running on all cylinders.
How was your off-season preparation impacted by the injury? And how do you feel now? But I guess how much did that change things?
It changed a lot because I wasn't able to train to my fullest potential. And then I didn't get to do a lot of fall camp, which helps. It's feeling a lot better. The first 2 games, it was kind of warming up, but I'm starting to feel more like myself. So, if I were at 80% the first couple of games, I'm feeling more like 90. So that'll help a lot.
And back to the subject of Zach, a lot of guys have really raved about his leadership abilities. Kind of what's your relationship with him, and what does he bring outside of what we can see?
Zach's been one of my best friends since sophomore year. We traveled as sophomores, and usually you don't travel till junior year here, and so we got really close then. Me, Zach, and Wyatt Wilson were part of what we called the night shift, where after meetings and stuff, we would just eat together late at night. And so as we've grown junior and senior year, I can definitely see he's taking a really good leadership role. He's one of the funniest guys on the team. So just his energy, his skill, it makes a good leader. It's someone you want to follow.
Where would the night shift? Would you guys leave campus to eat, or like?
No,
how would you-
It's like when we go to the hotels and stuff. Like a lot of people take the meals back to their room, but
On
we
the
would
road
just
you're talking about.
on the road.
Okay, got it.
We would eat together and just like at our own little table, call ourselves the night shift. And so now we always talked about like when the night shift would start getting to play together, and so that's this year. The three amigos are together.
The success you've had through the first two games, has it surprised you that has come this fast for you?
Not really. We have a great defensive scheme. Puts me in a lot of positions, to have opportunities to pass rush, have opportunities to pass rush one-on-one. And also, like, when you're rushing with a lot of great pass rushers around you, like Peyton Zadroik and Bo Richter and Capono Blake and, just everybody else, like, it makes it a lot easier. It's not like they can just focus on me, chip protect me the whole time, or, when you have a bunch of guys across the board that pass rush really well, you get games like last game where you have three guys get a sack, and then even on some of the sacks we got, like, there was somebody else right there, too, in case you had missed.
And as you look ahead to this week, how completely different is the challenge, and what does that do inside of you as a first-time starter to now go into a week like this?
Utah State runs a very interesting offense. They run it. I always say they run it pretty similar to Tennessee. They spread you out and then force you to make a lot of plays one-on-one. So really the main focus for me and everybody else on the defense is obviously win your one-on-one and then do one more. So like on the front line, when it comes to the box, it might be a little short, but everybody has to get their gap and be able to two-gap and make the play. And at that point, we always just say, who's better than you, who's better than me, who's better than anybody, in the nation then, us as a unit to face that challenge.
And to that end, do you guys feel like because of how dynamic their offense is, because of what they were able to do last week and putting over 70 points, that you guys look at this as a chance to really show what you guys are fully capable of a defense, to maybe try to replicate what you've done against the previous two opponents and try to do it against a high-scoring team like Utah State?
Yes, like obviously our defense, we don't back down from any challenge. Those guys over there are obviously a great group. They're a lot of athletic guys. They run a great scheme, but we don't step down from anybody. You could put an NFL team in front of us. We're going to play hard. We really believe in our heart we can go out there and stop them no matter who they are. Mm-hmm. So those guys are a great group. Don't let get away from that, but we're very confident in ourselves.
And adding Peyton back into the mix, what does he add to you guys? Was he unlock? I mean, how important was it to get him back?
He has just overall just another great run stopper and obviously another great pass rusher. You saw his first game back coming off injury. He was able to get a sack. And he adds great interior pressure when outside they might be chipping me and Bo. You leave Peyton one-on-one, and you see what happens. He gets a sack, gets back there before I even blink. So it's just we're really happy to have him back, like just the element he brings to our defense.
The tempo with which Utah State operates, how does that impact you on the field? I don't know if you saw the field much last year against them, but you obviously were part of the team and you saw everything else happening. Like, what is that like?
I played against it last year. It was pretty tiring, obviously because they're going tempo. They're one of those teams that like want to get small chunks, and then when it's 31, they speed it up, and then boom, get that third down while everybody's trying to like move around and get set up. So obviously it's going to be a tough game at altitude. We don't necessarily have the altitude advantage. They're high up too. But, this whole week we've been doing a great job preparing, great job running to the ball, preparing for the tempo. Great job, practicing substitution. So we should be pretty well equipped for it, hopefully.
And how much does that emphasize or, reinforce the need for communication and preparation so that when it is just rapid fire, there's not much thinking that has to occur?
It's imperative. Like with every single game, obviously everybody has to know exactly what they're supposed to do without thinking about it too hard. But when a team's putting a stress on you, like they will with hurry up and trying to get plays off within the first 10 seconds of the play clock, it's just even more important to make sure we have our shifts and everything just on point, and then any of our substitutions just on point, just knowing exactly what the situation, no matter how tired we may get.
The last couple of years, you guys have had such strong years. You've probably looked back and thought about the Utah State game earlier in the year and the loss, both times, because, obviously 11-2 would have looked a lot better than 10-3. Mm-hmm. How do you go into this week with that mentality, knowing what happened the last couple of years, wanting to change that, and then kind of making it happen?
We definitely have a chip on our shoulder. Like the past 2 years, they've always been known as like the one team that can just like it appears just be able to move the ball as they want to on us. So this week, our biggest thing is just like go out there, play how we're supposed to do, and apparently like really just shocked the world because we all feel that a lot of people are expecting kind of the same thing to happen 3 years in a row for them to be able to just move the ball as they feel against us.